Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'll try to not get too technical and try to keep it short and sweet. And I'll try to stick with the theme for the third session today is creating robust support systems and infrastructure. Now, I think it's platforms like this event that bring the industry together and the various different. We're supposed to be a very fragmented industry, but I think there's a lot of room for improvement, and there's always opportunities for us to collaborate. As the challenges are getting more and more difficult, I think the shipping industry cannot go it alone and come up with the solutions. There has to be solutions across the value chain, which require, increased collaboration. So I'll get right into my subject now, without any further ado. So I'm going to first show the regulatory landscape in very brief, because it's already been covered in earlier sessions today. And then the topic of decarbonization trajectories is actually the name of a position paper published by Bureau Veritas in February of this year. What I liked about it, it talks about the practical approaches towards decarbonization, because there are many of the smaller ship owners and operators that are waiting to see what the trailblazers, which direction they're going to go in, and and hoping to follow them, and waiting for this silver bullet that may be not actually realistic and may never. And then the third section, we're going to tie in the role of digitalization. So the UNFCCC Foundation for Climate Change, Convention on Climate Change, was in 1992, was adopted in 1992. Then the Kyoto Protocol came but excluded shipping and aviation. They were left to the IMO and the ICAO in the case of aviation. Then we had the Paris Accord, which was the result of COP21. So that set the cap of temperature rise at 1.5 degrees Celsius from pre-industrial levels. And then more recently in the UAE, the COP28, where I like the very carefully selected wording of transitioning away from fossil fuels and the energy systems in a just, orderly and equitable manner, accelerating action and critical decade, and the ultimate goal of net zero in 2050, which would require a cut of 43% by 2030, which is quite substantial, compared with 2019 levels, to limit the global warming or average temperature rise of 1.5 degrees, in line with the Paris Accord. And that would mean tripling of renewable energy capacity and doubling energy efficiency improvements by 2030, which is is not an easy feat to be accomplished, and maybe one of the most difficult challenges that shipping has ever faced, maybe comparable to changing from wooden hulls to steel hulls, or steam to motor, or something of that. Maybe even more difficult. So we'll not spend too much time on the regulation, but basically we can summarize it that for 2030, the revised IMO greenhouse gas strategy, the first two parts, first part stays the same. The new part is the uptake of zero or near zero emission technologies between 5 to 10%. By 2030, and then if we talk about in absolute terms, between 20 to 30% compared with 2008. That's new. And then when it comes to 2040, 70 to 80%. So targeting 70 but striving for 80. And then we'll see, what effect that has on, the whole scenario. And then, of course, to reach net zero by 2050 or close to it. So they've left a little bit of flexibility in case it's not quite, but I'll be able to demonstrate that with the actual later on. And then, of course, the midterm measures. This is the timeline for the midterm measures, but basically the midterm measures can be defined as the new fuel standard to ramp down the carbon intensity of the fuel, and then also a financial part. So in simple terms, you could say a big carrot, an even bigger stick. So this is to drive the industry forward by incentivizing and perhaps penalizing. So if you see on this graph, the top line is the business as usual scenario. So it dips slightly and then starts to go up. If you look at the yellow band, the yellow band changes in gradient in line with 2030 and again in 2040. And now that's based on the revised greenhouse gas strategies that came out of the IMO. So, you know, the most optimistic of those shows us reaching net zero by 2050. The other scenario, if you continue the line down, would reach net zero something like 2057, and hence maybe the flexibility that's written into the strategy. This is the basis of this is a position paper published by Bureau Veritas in February of this year. And what I liked about it is if you just look at you can use that QR code if you want to access it, but in the executive summary, it highlights the practical things that ship owners can do today, other than just watching and waiting for, you know, this silver bullet or this magical breakthrough. So there's a lot we can do, practical measures. And the study basically is a bottom-up study showing scenarios for shipping, and of course the well-to-wake perspective, which is the whole life cycle assessment part of it. And the study also explores if achieving the 1.5 degrees, you know, as set in the Paris Agreement is actually achievable, realistic or not, and then delving into the input parameters to see what are the most important factors that affect this. So here, the gray is the Monte Carlo study, which was, I think, something like 100,000 different scenarios, hence the big gray area. But the basic thing is, which we had earlier in one of the presentations earlier, it's not a revolution, it's more of an evolution. So this decarbonization is evolving, and what are the factors? The transport work forecast, the evolution of the world fleet, evolution of ship efficiency, evolution of operating profiles, uptake of renewable and low carbon fuels. Now, this is interesting because this looks at, you know, the gray is the fossil fuel, and then as we move forward, the blue fuel, the biofuel, and the e-fuel or the synthetic fuels will become more in use. And if you see at 2050, the biggest in this forecast is showing the e-fuels or the synthetic fuels, and then the next one is the biofuel, then the blue fuel, but still fossil fuels still in use there. So it's an energy mix or fuel mix, not a single silver bullet. And then the importance factors, actually biofuels is the biggest, the pink. Then, of course, reducing speed is one of the most effective measures still today. Slow steaming is an old concept, it's nothing new. And then dual fuel capable vessels coming in, improvement of technical efficiency of new vessels, and of course virtual arrivals or just-on-time arrivals. I mean, we still have vessels that's going full speed and then sitting in port for a week to wait. So these are practical measures that we could take just with better coordination between shippers and receivers that can play a major role. And then to bring into it the importance of digitalization, which you will hear from my fellow panelists after me. So I won't dwell on it too much because I'm sure he is going to deliver good information on that. But in basic terms, we've always had a big amount of data in shipping that we didn't do very much with. Now, these days, it's becoming more critical for us to be data-driven. So our decisions in operational terms of how we can optimize the operation of our fleets, how we can bring down consumption, is to be data-driven. So we can summarize that by saying that was once an aspiration and now it's an imperative. So OrbitMI is a digital platform that Bureau Veritas invested in. It's a New York-based company, a software as a service company, or SaaS. And who are the customers? They're ship owners, commercial operators, time charters, and pools. And why? So they can operate their fleets more profitably and efficiently, connecting multiple systems into intelligent connected workflows. Mission: to help customers become data-driven, breaking down data silos, enabling them to optimize their fleet performance, etc. Serves large oil majors and other through Maritime Carbon Solutions, MCS, as information as a service. This was a collaboration between Orbit and Galbraith, the brokers, Galbraith. When we talk about sustainability applied, Orbit helps owners and operators optimize each voyage, including fuel consumptions. Vessel and fleet efficiency enables technologies aligned sustainability, and that's what we call sustainability applied. And also, for CII and EU ETS is the platform which can assist with that. And that's what we call sustainability in action. Basically, can increase profits, can make you more productive, improve safety, extend existing investments, knock down data silos, and reduce emissions and streamline compliance. Enhance data analytics, real-time data, improve vessel performance, etc., etc. And this is the bottom line. This is the business study based on 100 vessels. Now, we heard from the previous session that the assumption of 3.1 metric tons of CO2 per ton of fuel is maybe a bit debatable, depending on the thermal and propulsive efficiencies of the vessels. But this is assuming 60% of vessels benefit from these efficiencies. We're talking about 220 operating days at sea. But with this, by reducing 20,000 metric tons of fuel, we've reduced 60,000 tons of CO2 and improved the bottom line by 18 million. So although our colleagues, our partners in Orbit tell us that these are very conservative figures, and the latest studies show even better results. The various tools or various different parts of this system include the chartering part, the weather part, the compliance and sustainability part, the tracking and notifications part, the noon reporting, and the maritime intelligence and analysis. Key differentiators are that Orbit not only has its own solution, but integrates with customers' existing solutions. Orbit can enhance the value of those systems by incorporating them in a single source of the truth. And there's some examples on the right of systems that have been integrated with Orbit. So instead of being competitors with those, it actually collaborates with those. And with that, I'll say thank you for your attention. I hope it didn't bore you to tears. And thank you very much.